In this video, we're going to be talking about buying a design, bringing it here into CorelDRAW, and then ultimately exporting files that we can then import into our hotfix software. Now, we do have to jump through several hoops, but it is very, very straightforward once we understand the process. So, once I discovered that we had this YNG option and how well it worked and how the PLT option does not work, period. It's not functional. And so the YNG file you could see in our previous part 2 of the series is very functional. Very simple. You open it up, you import the file, you click add to palette, you hit save, and boom, all your bead colors and sizes are assigned perfectly. Everything's done for you, and it's just a couple clicks of the mouse. So, but the problem is how do we create YNG files? And that's what we're going to talk about, kind of walk you through this step. So, how do we create YNG files? Well, this is how we go about creating YNG files. The first thing we need is an Illustrator file. So we have to create Illustrator files in order to create YNG files. So, but in order to create Illustrator files, we actually need to do several things. So let's just take an example here. We're going to hit File and Import. And there's a particular file that I want to use because I think it does a great job demonstrating. Let me find it here. Okay, so this is the logo, the UTRGV file. We're going to be using this. We're going to be importing this EPS file. EPS or SVG. So in this case, we're importing EPS, and we just click OK. And it'll import the file for us. You just click anywhere and it imports the file. And so this is what you would get. And this is what you would get pretty much no matter where you buy your design files. You're going to get a view of the entire design. And then this is the design that's already been separated for making templates for rhinestones. So we're just going to ungroup this, and we're going to select our entire design here and get rid of those extra pieces of the design that we don't need for what we're going to do. So in order for EasyStone to help us prepare these files for our Spangle machine, it has to know what this is. It doesn't have a clue what it is because we imported an EPS file. And when we create a design with EasyStone, well, then it knows what it is because EasyStone created it. In this case, it doesn't know what this is. It could be anything. So what we have to first do is convert the design into a format that EasyStone can understand. And if you think about it, that's the same thing we did in Hotfix with both the PLT files and the YNG files. We imported those designs using an import filter, and it displayed what it saw in terms of bead colors and bead sizes, and converted those designs into a format that now Hotfix can use. So we're doing the same thing in EasyStone. The problem is in Hotfix, of course, we saw the PLT format was not functional at all. Period. End of story. Doesn't work. And so the YNG format was better. It did the job that we needed it to do. It's just kind of sad because it's not easy to get the YNG file. I mean, most people don't have that ability to create YNG files. And so that becomes a hurdle for most people. So anyhow, let me show you how we handle the problem in EasyStone because it's super simple. We just select our design and we click on the Convert Design feature, which is right here, the CD. Booyah. And notice that this file or this form is very similar to what we saw in Hotfix. But notice how quickly it showed it form, first of all. It discovered this design. It saw all the colors. Now, the bead size or the spangle size, EasyStone will automatically convert that too. So that's irrelevant. Now, one thing I do want to point out to you, because it probably is something you might want to do down the road, is let's say, for example, I wanted to change all the jet black stones right now. What you would do is click this little button that says Select Shapes, and that selects all your black. And so that's what we want to change. And then you come over here to your color palette, or this is your bead palette, if you will, and click on what you want to change it to. In this case, we'll change it to black diamond. And notice that now all the black is now black diamond. Okay, now I don't actually want to do that, so I'm going to go back and change it back to black. But these are the colors that EasyStone assigned based on the fill color of the objects in your EPS file, and it's going to do its best to match up what stone color it thinks you want based on the fill color in your EPS file, but it may not do it exactly. So for light cyan, for example, you might want cyan, slightly darker or something, or you might want a color completely different. Whatever the case is, you can define that now if you want to. Now's the time to do it. And so when we click OK, what EasyStone is going to do now, it's just going to convert the design into a format that EasyStone can recognize. Now that has been converted. Now EasyStone knows exactly what the heck we're dealing with. It knows exactly what spangle sizes we're using. It knows exactly what colors we're using. It has all of that information ready to go. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and export this design to our Illustrator file. That's our first step. So we'll go ahead and select that file and choose here on the miscellaneous tab. We'll choose Export Vector File, and we're going to get this window. And this window is an amazing window. It took hundreds and hundreds of hours, I can only tell you, to get this export function to work the way we need it to work. But at any rate, we're going to export Illustrator files. So it's this last option here, the AI option. And most of you who have Spangle machines will work inside this tiny little demon box that I call the six-headed demon, because we have 6 punches in our Spangle machines. So we have 1 4mm punch, we have 2 2mm punches, and we have 3 3mm punches. And so we just tend to create our designs to fit within that little tiny demon box. Well, I don't like dealing with that. I like to create a design however I want to create it, to create the best quality looking design I can create. If it doesn't fit inside the little demon box, so be it, because we don't need it to fit inside the little demon box. So point being is this is the export function. We need to export some Illustrator files for our next step. But if you look here, you could see EasyStone does recognize what this design is. It found emerald green in 6 and 10. It found jet black at 6 and 10. It found orange in 6 and 10. And it found cyan in 6 and 10. So it found all the different spangle sizes we're using, found all the different colors we're using, but now we have to tell it how we want to export. Remember, the little demon box is 1, 2, and 3. And so in this case, we have emerald green in 6, we have jet black in 6, we have orange in 6, and we have cyan in 6. Well, we can't have that many because 6 is 2. Okay, 6 is 2mm. 10 is 3mm. We can't have that many on a single transfer sheet. We can only have 2 because that's the way the demon was created. So what we have to do is say, okay, well, for sheet 1, we want 6 and 10 in green and 6 and 10 in jet black. And then over here on sheet 2, we want 6 and 10 in orange and 6 and 10 in cyan. And then it will export appropriately. So for this design, we've got to create 2 transfer sheets, which means we're going to have to apply one, pull off the transfer tape, and then line up the second one and apply it the second way. Yes, it's an extra step, but I can promise you, if we were to design this design in the 1, 2, 3 demon, this design, the quality of this design would be significantly different than creating 2 transfer sheets. It just would be. I've seen so many designs that are designed to fit within that little tiny box that would look so much better if we just use 2 transfer sheets. Now, I don't condone using 3 and 4 and 5 transfer sheets. Okay, I get it. But we can use 2 and create a much better product. Now, earlier when I was demonstrating in parts 1 and 2, I was demonstrating with the President Trump transfer sheet. I created that specifically for rhinestones. And so I went a little crazy because it was a simple design, but I use 16s, 10s, and 6s for every color. So even though there's just 3 colors, red, white, and blue, I used so in order to create that on a Spangle machine, we could, but then we'd have to create 3 transfer sheets instead of just 1 or 2, and that might be kind of crazy, creating 3 transfer sheets for that design. So I might consider going in and possibly revamping the design so that it would fit on 2 rather than having to have 3 sheets, or maybe even reconfigure it so it would just work on 1. But yeah, I mean, you lose, you do lose the quality of the design would diminish because it looks pretty cool using all the different spangle sizes for each of the colors. When you look at the design, it looks badass. Because there's a lot of detail when you're adding all those different spangle sizes. But ultimately, we're gonna have to pay the price at the back end. Then, if we keep the design looking badass, then we have to create 3 transfer sheets, and that may not be necessarily desirable. It's not a big deal, but it may not be desirable. It just depends on what you're trying to do. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and we're going to call this daemon file 1. I don't know why. I just picked it. So we're going ahead and choose export. And so what EasyStone will do then is it's going to create some Illustrator files. But this is the thing that I really want to show you, because not only does it create the Illustrator files, which is that part's cool and all, because we need those Illustrator files in order to create our YNG files, but the next phase, what else does it do? This is pretty cool because it can't do that in Hotfix. So I knew that we had to, once I understood that we could import YNG files and how awesome they were to import into Hotfix, I then had to come up with a way to make a YNG file. And there was no really easy way to make a YNG file until I discovered how we create YNG files. And so now the process is pretty simple. But so not only do we need to create YNG files, but one thing that I was finding, especially on a design like this, is I've got a transfer sheet, 11 by 14 transfer sheet, or whatever size hotfix tape that you're using for your machine. So I've got this piece of hotfix tape. I know that this design will fit more than one on a single sheet, but there's no way in Hotfix to say, hey, take this design and spread it out, however many times it will fit on this piece of paper. There's no way to do that. So in part of the process of exporting our Illustrator files, EasyStone does that for us. So let me show you. So this is what it creates. It creates a file for this, it creates a file for this, and it creates a file for the entire design complete. Boom, 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 boom. So it just does that for us. And so in EasyStone, we have pre-programmed the size transfer sheets that we should be using, which is the biggest size. I think it's been so many years, honestly. It was either 11 by 14 or 11 by 17. I forget which. But that was the biggest sheet that the machine can handle. So we pre-programmed that into EasyStone, and then we also pre-programmed the space between each design. What's the minimum spacing that we should consider for each design? And the software will automatically rotate the design however it needs to rotate it to fit as many iterations on the page as will fit. So in this case, it says, well, based on the size of the design, if we rotate it and we put it vertically, then we can fit 5 to 1 sheet. And so that's what it does. It automatically does. Then we would just, so if we had a t-shirt order for 100 of these, we would run 20 sheets of this setup. Then we'd change out our spools and run 20 sheets of this, cut them all apart, and boom, start applying. So to me, this was a big deal because I used to have to do this manually in Hotfix. We'd have to specify, how many we wanted. And that, to me, that was just crazy. So we took care of that here in EasyStone as part of the process of exporting. So now we have the Illustrator files. Let's minimize our screen here. Minimize that. And now we have these Illustrator files. So there's the daemon file sheet 1, daemon file sheet 2. So here's sheet 1, here's sheet 2, and here's sheet 3. So how do we create YNG files? Well, what I suspect happened, I don't know this for fact, in talking with the folks at Argentina, I said, well, you know, you have this YMG option. What is it? And they're like, well, there's this file format that this old software used to use, and it creates YMG files. And so what happened was, back in the day, GemMaster was the hotfix of its day. So basically, every single rhinestone setting machine that existed in the world used GemMaster to make it function. So we would create all of our designs in GemMaster, and then GemMaster would talk to our rhinestone machine to place the rhinestones on the hotfix transfer tape. So what happened was, is the folks over at Hotfix says, well, we want people to start using Hotfix. But all the people screamed that have been using GemMaster for the last 10, 15 years probably with their rhinestone setting machines. They're like, well, we can't switch to Hotfix because we have all our design files already set up in GemMaster. And we can't redesign everything in Hotfix. So, that's a dead issue for us. So basically, the folks at Hotfix had to create an import filter because this is an antiquated program. And GemMaster, they don't make GemMaster anymore and haven't probably in 10 years or however long it's been. It doesn't exist anymore. You can't buy it, really. Now, what I did years ago when I was, big into programming and big into selling software and this and that, um, there was a manufacturer in Florida who was selling out their remaining inventory of rhinestone machines. They had like these old school rhinestone setting machines that they were getting rid of, and they had all these extra copies of GemMaster. And so I went ahead and bought all the copies of GemMaster that they had remaining, uh, because I thought, well, I might package GemMaster with uh, some kind of plugin for hotfix that I would create. And I never really created it, so I have all these extra licenses of GemMaster just sitting around. But at any rate, so you would need a copy of GemMaster, okay, for this conversion process. But all you have to do is just basically copy the files into it. So we just drop in our first file and hit OK, and it brings it in, and then we hit File and Save, and then hit Save again. And boom, there's our YMG file. So we do that for each of our sheets. Hit OK, File and Save again. There's sheet 2, and then finally our last file. Okay, done. So now we've created our YMG files. All we did is just drag and drop. It reads the file like Hotfix should. Hotfix should. It should be that easy in Hotfix. We should be able to go, boom, there it is. Because it's, I mean, look how quickly GemMaster did it. Look, watch this thing. Boom. Okay, boom, it did it. End of story. Hotfix should do that. I cannot believe it does not do that, and I can't believe we as a user group don't demand that it does. But so at any rate, that's the story. Okay, so yes, you would have to get a copy of GemMaster. Hopefully, you'll get it from me because I got so many copies of it. I don't know what to do with it. But at any rate, you do need GemMaster to convert. And now we can go back into Hotfix and get to work. So we'll go ahead and create a new design file. And we'll just import those YMG files. So we got to hit File and Import. And we got to go down to our daemon file. Test daemon. So we have our daemon file, and then you see we have sheet 1 and sheet 2. So our basic file that we're going to import first, this is going to be the whole design as one. And so this is the process that I use for every file that I design. So I already do this for you. So you know that every file that you buy from us already comes with a hotfix format ready to go, ready to send to your machine. You don't have to mess with nothing. And ultimately that just saves you a bunch of time. But so this is what you have to do. You have to bring those YMG files in. Now there's one bit of a drag that it does kind of take a little bit of time to do. The other thing that's interesting is frustrating as a computer programmer is you'll notice that in this process, so all we have to do is hit add to palette and click OK, and it will assign the beads and import the design for us. So that part is super simple. So as a software programmer, it does bug me that I can't just do this in one step for some reason. So I got to go ahead and import the next one. For some reason, if I were to let's see here, daemon file one. If I were to import the file with all these sheets into one like massive file, it would screw up every time. So for some reason, Hotfix can only handle a certain size file or something, creates an issue. If I were to try to import all these into one YNG file, it just does not work. I've tried it. I've tried talking with the folks in Argentina about it as to why it won't do that. Um, I don't know. And also, I don't know why it takes forever and a day to import this YNG file compared to a PLT file. Although the YNG file is just more complex. It's just a bigger file than the PLT files are, anyhow. Um, but at any rate, it does do the job. It'll import, and it's way quicker to use that than it is the PLT because we would have to manually assign our beads, and you can't use the PLT anyhow because it doesn't recognize the different spangle sizes. Um, in one color, and this file uses. So you can see that would be our first transfer sheet, and now we'll go ahead and import our second transfer sheet, and then we would save this file as our DSG file, and boom, we're in business. So we'll go ahead and import that last second sheet, and then we would just select what portion of the design we want to send to our spangle machine or rhinestone machine, and would be basically ready to go. So we'll go ahead and wait for this second sheet, and then yes, this design will be all set up, ready to go. So, uh, definitely the YNG format's the way to go. It's pretty simple to create those files out of EasyStone. Got to create your Illustrator file, and then got to create those YNG files with GemMaster, and then you can import right here into Hotfix, and it's really simple to import the YNG files. It does take a little bit of time, but way, 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 way better than the PLT option. And this really is the only other solution there is right now. And really, like I said, the software should do it. Just import a EPS file and let us go to work, but it doesn't. So that is that's the solution on the back end. So we'll go ahead and assign those beads, hit OK. It'll assign the beads for us and bring that next sheet in. And then I just move that sheet. And there we go. So now this file can be saved. And then anytime we need to run this design, we would just boop, select that. Boom, send to our spangle machine. Come back in. Boom, send to our spangle machine. Cut these apart, put them on the shirts, and down the road we go. So that's it. That's it. Part 1, 2, 3. That's all you need to know about setting up files for Hotfix. And while, yes, I know I'm kind of long-winded, and each one of these videos took a little bit of time to get through, but now you know the real deal. It'll really save your sanity. And it just makes the process so much easier. And really, I mean, talk to your Codecademy rep. I would love the software to work, quote unquote, the right way, especially in important design, so we wouldn't have to jump through those hoops. But because we need CorelDRAW, we need EasyStone, we need GemMaster, and then in Hotfix, we need all that just to get a design. And that's kind of craziness. We shouldn't need all that. We already have Hotfix. Let's import an EPS file and let's get to work. And yes, it'd be nice if Hotfix would create this option where we can, set have the software automatically rotate and space our design like we can in CorelDRAW. So we can have that already set up on our hotfix tape ready to go. That would be ideal too. But let's just get the file in there. Make it easy so we don't have to do all this craziness. But in the meantime, that's the option that's available to you, is get the YNG import filter and get EasyStone, get CorelDRAW, get GemMaster, and you're ready to go to work. But anyhow, that's all I got to say about exporting files for the use here in Hotfix. Thanks for watching.